bear with us.
So long.
I know. I've missed you.
I know. I've missed you too, and you.
I've missed you so much. It's been
a crazy summer so far.
Yeah. So maybe what we can do is just start with a little update and then jump right into the topic for today, which is all about midwives, why we chose midwife, or why we chose midwifery care.
Oh, yes. Why we chose it. The pros, in our opinion, of it over like an OB or something.
Yeah. That's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Perfect. So talk to me about Jack. What's been going on?
Oh.
Or maybe just tell me about you. What do you want to share?
No, nothing happens in my life.
That's not true.
You know what? It's been busy. So I've traveled to Florida. I traveled to New York. Jack turned 1.
Nothing happens in my life. Multiple trips.
Well, I forgot that we've been gone for so long.
I know.
Jack turned 1. He has teeth now, which is crazy. He's crawling like insane. He pulls up. He can walk.
By himself?
You know what? He can take a couple steps, but he notices that I let go, and then he falls to the floor. And I'm like, the drama of this baby is insane.
I wonder who's more dramatic, Winnie or Jack?
It's a close tie, I think. Like,
I think so too.
Splinter, probably. Yeah, I feel like that's all that's going on for me, anyways.
That's so fun.
What's going on with you?
Not too much. We're just planning Winnie's first birthday party, which is going to be nothing like Jack's birthday party. Jack's birthday party was the best first birthday party I've ever been to.
No.
It was golf themed, and I had so much fun dressing Winnie and myself and Brad for this whole occasion.
It was so cute, the fits.
Oh my god. It was so good.
I'll insert a picture.
Okay, I hope you do.
Winnie and then Jack's outfit.
Yeah.
They didn't get a picture together though, which is stupid in my opinion. Yeah.
I'm
wrong.
So offensive.
It's wrong.
So offensive. I'm so offended.
It's wrong.
It is wrong. But no, so that was really fun. So hers is going to be nothing like that. It's going to be very small, very, I don't know. Intimate.
Yeah.
But we're still really looking forward to it.
Nice.
And nothing's really been going on with myself. Like, just planning going back to work, which is anxiety.
Oh, we're not even talking about that. It's only mid-July.
I know, but it's so sad. If anyone can relate to being a mom, or like a first-time mom, or even second-time mom, or however many times a mom, if you can relate to going back to work and the anxiety of leaving your child and just like that being the last thing that you want to do. Oh. Like, how did you get through it?
What's your tips? Yeah,
tips and tricks.
Tips. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really bad. But other than that, just I'm starting to get close to finishing my studying for my program that I started in COVID. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's a good update.
Yeah. Oh, we did go to a cottage. We didn't go international, but we did go to a cottage and spent some time with friends there. And Winnie's been crawling. She's taken a few steps without support too. Lots of babbling, lots of talking.
The talking just has inclined like significantly. Like it's crazy.
Every single day there's something new.
Yeah.
She knows 8 animal sounds, which is so cool.
That's good.
Yeah. And she climbed the stairs by herself the other day.
Oh my god. Terrifying.
Is
that even a win? I feel like that's scary.
No, that's so scary. Did I say it was a win?
No, well, you're talking about good things. She knows animal sounds. She crawled up the stairs. I didn't know we were going to positive to negative back and forth.
I'm proud of her for her accomplishments,
yeah.
but I'm not necessarily wanting to encourage it.
But get back down the stairs.
Thank God we got 2 baby gates because we're going to have to put another one up for sure.
Yeah.
Like, immediately. I feel like I can't take my eyes off her for 1 second.
No.
Like, pulling herself up on everything. The amount of times, like, she bumps her head in a day, it's so sad.
I know.
I'm just like, why? Like, no matter how hard I try to keep my eyes on her, something happens.
No, they need, like, those helmets.
Honestly.
Yeah.
We need to, like, side hustle.
Yeah.
We need to make bedazzled, like, cute helmets that people actually want to wear.
I'm sure they're out there.
I'll look after this.
Okay.
Okay, but that's enough about us. Let's
and
just
don't steal
dive
our
into
Dragon's Den idea either.
Oh yeah, no, we'll
Bedazzled
come for you.
helmets, yeah.
Bedazzled helmets. Woo!
You heard it here first.
Millions of dollars of ideas here.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into our episode for today, which is all about midwives. So, do you want to start? Because you had, or actually, did you have a midwife from the very beginning of your pregnancy?
Yeah.
Okay, talk to me about how you got in with the midwives so quickly.
Oh my god. So this is funny because, as always, I have to mention Lauren in every episode. Classic. Here's your shout out, Lauren. But when she told us that she was pregnant, because again, she's 5 weeks ahead of me, she said she was going with midwives. And in my mind, midwives were just like this very like all natural, do it in your home. Like I knew nothing about midwives.
Okay.
Literally nothing.
Really?
Nothing.
Right up until that point?
Yeah, nothing.
Okay.
And I just found out I was pregnant when they told us, right?
Yeah.
So it was like not even on my mind yet.
Was Lauren the person that you went to the house who cooked your steak?
Yeah. And ate the raw steak. Yeah.
Got it.
So she told me about that, and I'm sure I was like super confused and probably like why. And then she explained to me like all these benefits and how her mom, who's a nurse, really recommends it, whatever. So then I looked into it on my own time.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like there's just so many benefits. And for me, mostly, I think the benefits personally come after birth. Like that's to me what would make me choose a midwife again. There's like a couple other reasons too, but I feel like the afterbirth part like is what really got me.
Yeah.
But I love my doctor, my family doctor, and I love my family doctor's office. So I was actually going like back and forth for a long time.
Yeah.
And I had went to my first doctor appointment. Like I didn't even put myself on the midwife list yet. I went to my first doctor appointment at 8 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
And I had asked her about midwife care, and she had explained some more stuff to me, which was great. And she had told me that like they drop you and you go to an OB at 20 weeks.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that either. So I was like, why would I then hang on to my doctors if you only go for them for half the time and then you go to someone else?
Yeah.
So I put myself on the midwife list, and I was like, I'll figure it out after, and then I'll choose. And then that time came around, and I had just talked to Brandon about it, researched it, and then thought like midwives was probably the best way to go. And the girl that not interviewed me, but like filled out like the whole questionnaire to see if like they can take you.
Yeah.
Because we should also point out they don't take high risk pregnancies.
No, they don't.
So they ask you a whole bunch of questions before to make sure that they can take you in their care. I connected to her like right away. We were born at the same hospital in this small town in the middle of nowhere, like Elliott Lake. I don't even know if people know where that is. It is so far north. It is like west of Sudbury by a long shot.
Okay.
Like keep going.
Okay.
So
like keep going.
Keep driving. So anyway, I connected with her, and she made the experience feel like really great. And then I found out like she would be on my team.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, okay, this is great. So then that's what made me decide to pick.
Okay. So for me, I knew right away that I wanted a midwife. I also loved my family doctor. And when I called her to tell her that I was pregnant and that I just needed to like schedule my appointment with her, she right away told me like, I know you, I know that you would really enjoy a midwife experience. If you can get on with them, go like do it now. Here's the number you need to call.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, yes. Okay, doing that. And so we didn't actually have an interview. We had like an online form that we had to fill out. Okay. And I submitted that and got confirmation saying like we received it, you've been put on our wait list, and that was kind of it. I heard nothing else. So there was a few times within the 20 weeks that I was with my GP that I emailed them just saying, hi, like it's me. Can you tell me like where I am on the wait list, or is there a chance kind of thing? Because if not, I was going to have to look at the different OB options and pick one that I wanted to go with. So I spoke with my family doctor again, and as the time kind of came where we were winding down our care, like, or my care with her.
Yeah.
She put in a referral to me for an OB, and like I said, like I have a really good relationship with her, so I trusted her opinion on the OB that would, you know, be taking care of me.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to that OB for, so finished GP care at 20 weeks, and then I was seeing the OB up until I was about 30 weeks. So there was like 10 weeks of OB care, and then I got transitioned into midwifery care, which actually wasn't that hard. Like I literally just called the OB, said I'm rescheduling my appointments, I'm moving them into like a midwifery care system, and they transferred all my like medical information, all my documents,
the testing, everything,
all the testing, and then it was kind of seamless. Like I
that's great.
Yeah. So if you're in a situation where you're with an OB but you want to get into the midwife's system, it's not like, if you can get in, it's not that hard of a transition.
Yeah.
Because I know it's like, it's like one more thing to do. It's like transfer all my medical stuff into this different area. Oh my God, worth it. Even if you had to go above and beyond and do all this other stuff, I would still have done it.
And
100%.
Like hold out for it too, because like you were on the wait list until 30 weeks. Yeah. And then you got it, and then you're like, 10 more weeks, like what is that? But
no.
So worth it.
Oh my God.
Hold out for it.
So worth it. Yeah. Definitely keep waiting. And I just kept emailing them, like I called them a couple times. Like I wasn't trying to be annoying, but I also was trying to make it known, like if there's anything you can do, please. And I don't think that always will work, and I don't know if that's what it was, or if it was just luck of the draw. But as soon as you get pregnant, if you listen to this and midwifery care is resonating with you, and like the care that they offer is what you're looking for, get yourself on the wait list.
Like ASAP.
ASAP.
I don't know how I was able to wait and like pick for so long. Like it must have been like a really like not busy time for babies, because I had I was waiting. I didn't contact them until probably 8 weeks.
Okay.
Or maybe 9. Like I was just
4
waiting.
Weeks.
Yeah. See?
I was 4 weeks.
And some people like they find out they're pregnant and then right away they're like calling. So I don't know how I was able to like get in,
but you did.
Yeah, but I did, thank God. So I don't have much of like a doctor experience. I went to one appointment with my doctor that you have to go to anyways. Yeah. Because midwives don't take you until 10 weeks.
Okay.
So I think
didn't even know that.
Okay, yeah. So I'm pretty sure, or ours did anyways. I'm pretty sure you always have to have that first appointment with your doctor.
I'm sure that makes sense.
Anyways, and then you can go into your midwife care starting at 10 weeks. Okay. But we started like both of us in COVID. It was still COVID. Yeah. So my first appointment was virtual.
Really?
Yeah.
All mine were still in person. I actually forgot that we were still kind of in COVID, because it didn't really have an effect on any of my care.
Well, I guess that makes sense because you were with the doctor first.
Yeah.
Although some doctors were doing virtual care.
Yeah, mine was in person the whole time. I know some doctors were, for sure. I had my first... I called her to tell her that I was pregnant. And she called me back and we just talked about next steps. Yeah. But my first, she did want to see me after my first ultrasound. So I got my ultrasound at 8 weeks and then 10 weeks. Yeah. And then I had my appointment with her at 11, and she looked over the 2 ultrasounds that I had. Because the first one was because I had that scare of ectopic pregnancy. Yeah. And then the second one was the one that I had booked for my first ultrasound.
Right. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. No, my first one with them was virtual, but then I went in and that's when we went over my ultrasound. So I feel like the virtual was just this is what our practice is about, kind of talking about it, and then was my first actual appointment with them.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. But what I really loved with midwife care is there's no rush. Yeah. I felt zero rush at all. All these people talk about, you get into the office, they're boom, 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 how are you? Any questions? Measure and leave. Yeah. There was times, especially because I had bleeding and stuff like that I was in there for an hour. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm so sorry, this is taking a long time. And they're like, there's no end to your appointment. We are here to, there's no set times. The people know to wait. And that's what I really loved about it too, is that there's no rush. They're thorough. They explain everything. They take their time. Yeah. That's about the appointments. In
Yeah, and I did have that OB experience. So
Yeah.
I wasn't seeing my OB because I went from 20 to 30 weeks. I still wasn't seeing her every week at that point.
Yeah.
It was like every 4 weeks. So, or every 2 weeks maybe?
I think 2.
So I did see her, I'm going to say like 3 times, and then my 4th time got moved.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. But I will say she was a super nice lady, seemed very competent, like definitely not the same experience as a midwife though. So I went into the office, I got in right away, I didn't have to wait, which was nice.
Good.
But I got in right away, they took my weight, they took my blood pressure, and then I went into the doctor's room. She asked me a couple questions, laid me down, did my measurement, and then told me to book my next appointment. Any questions? No? Okay, bye. Yeah. And it was kind of like, as a first-time mom, you don't always know all of the questions to ask.
No.
Especially, and I was pretty well informed going into pregnancy, so I felt like I had, a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
But I think I'm someone that also likes to be guided a little bit. Like, oh, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That kind of thing, just because I like to make sure that I'm checking all the boxes. And, I don't know. Like, it's my first time doing this. So it definitely had that rushed feeling. If I, was going to compare, the OB experience to the midwife experience.
Yeah.
100%. Like, my first appointment with my midwife was over an hour. Yeah. And my first appointment with my OB was 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's a long appointment, I feel.
If
with
that.
Yeah.
I remember my mom drove me, and she waited in the parking lot, and I came back down. She's like, "Oh, is that it?" I'm like, "Yeah, everything's fine, I guess." But yeah, and then at my first appointment with the OB, when you're kind of going over everything, and I thought that was kind of going to be a longer appointment.
Well, should have been.
It should have been.
Yeah.
But no, the only thing that we talked about, she gave me pamphlets of information, to look at kind of as I was leaving.
Yeah.
And then she did tell me her schedule. So she was one of 10 OBs that were on a rotating schedule, and depending on when I went into labor, I would have any one of those 10.
Yeah.
So that solidified it to me, no, this is not my kind of care that I want.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend the next 20 weeks building a relationship with you and then trusting you with the care of me, my health, my child's health in an already scary and uncertain situation.
Yeah.
And then on the day of, find out that I have this completely random, and the chances of me getting a random were 90%.
Yeah.
I had a 1 in 10 chance of getting this person that I've just spent the last 20 weeks with.
Yeah.
So that didn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense to me either.
No. So anyways, we talked, and she did give me, like I said, she was a really nice lady, and it was a fine appointment. I liked that it was kind of fast in the sense I wasn't waiting, and it was kind of concise. So if that's kind of the person that you are, I mean, obviously there's no neglect going on. They definitely check the boxes of what needs to be done, but I felt like it was the bare minimum.
I also feel like it's just checking boxes too.
Yeah.
You're good, your blood pressure's good, your weight's fine, Kate, you're good.
Yes.
No questions, bye.
And it was nothing about
that's it.
My health, how I'm feeling about pregnancy. It was nothing about me as the person being pregnant. It was just about the baby's health.
Yeah.
And my blood pressure and my weight, you know?
Yeah.
Which
measuring
only impacts
your stomach.
the baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Part of it too for me was the fact that you could get any OB, one that you haven't even met before, even going into your OB appointments, it could be someone different every single time too, someone different reading your chart, someone different. And for me, there's some health things, there was that scare, and I'm just I wouldn't want to be in a situation where someone didn't know how my pregnancy was going up into that point. They just look over a chart, check it off. They're probably not even reading all the notes from the other doctor. How would they have time?
Yeah, I know.
Right? It's just, it didn't seem personal, and it didn't seem like that was someone, or that was something I wanted to do for me. Anyways, those 2 key points were what sold me to begin with as well.
Yeah.
So,
but how did you find? So you had midwifery care from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So what does the first kind of few appointments look like? Because I have no idea what that looks like.
Yeah, so because of COVID, I feel it was like always on a rotation. So it was like the first one was virtual, like on a webcam, Zoom kind of thing, but not Zoom. It's whatever the medical one is. Yeah. And then the next one was in person, and then Zoom, and then in person.
Was it every 4 weeks at this point?
I think the first is every 4, but then it went to, so I would probably only like 3 or 4 of that. Yeah. And then it went into like every, 2 or 3 weeks? 2 weeks, yeah. So that, and then all those were in person.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like they're thorough, it's long. They tell you about all the testing and everything that comes up, and you know, like you're in there for a long time. It's very personal. They never weighed me, actually. They said that didn't matter.
When I got into my midwife's care, she never weighed me.
No,
she
never.
asked, she goes, do you want me to weigh you? And I was like, no. Because I was kind of weighing myself in between every once in a while just to make sure like I was on track for like a healthy weight gain. But I never had any concerns really about weight. I never felt like I was too big or gaining too fast or uncomfortable, so I just weighed when I kind of thought about it.
And that's the thing too about midwives is they see you constantly, right? So it's also just like, I think they would notice if all of a sudden I blew up and they're like, let's just take your weight. Yeah. But they never weighed me. Sometimes I chose to weigh myself in the office. Yeah. And then I love that they would listen to the heartbeat every single time. Yeah. That was really nice to hear every appointment.
My doctor did that for me, like my GP.
Oh, okay.
My OB, she did it twice, I think.
Oh, every appointment they look at it. Yeah, which I loved because that's really nice to hear. Oh my god. And it's just reassuring, and it's so sweet. Yeah. No, I would say the appointments were good. Like there was nothing that like stood out significantly. Like I would say was different, but they're longer, they're thorough. Yeah. I remember them telling me they would appreciate if Brandon came into like a certain appointment where they would go over like birth. Yeah. And it was interesting because they took like a doll and they had like a bone structure of like your pelvis. Yeah. And they was like, so you know, if it's like in this situation, this is what's gonna happen. But if the baby's breech and it's this way, then and Brandon and I are just sitting there like, whoa, what the hell?
You got a full anatomy, physiology lesson.
We saw it all happening with this doll, but part of it too was them saying like, you know, if there's a situation you see a bunch of people running in, like this is what to expect. Like they really go over every detail of the appointment, which I appreciated. Yeah, so,
I agree. So when I got into the midwifery care, we were kind of starting, like my midwife was like, you know, you've had an OB, you've had your GP for the last whatever. Yeah. It was really cool because instead of putting me on a team, it was just her. She's like, you know what, we've only got 10 weeks left, you know, on average. So let's just really build our relationship. I'm not going to put you in contact with anybody else. Like, it's you and me. Like, we are going to, and Brad. Yeah. And we are going to, like, do this together. And I was, like, sold right away. I was like, that's amazing. Like, I don't even have a team. I have this one woman that is, like, looking at me dead in the eye being like, I am going to take care of you, and we are going to have, like, the most amazing experience. And if you need anything, you call me. Yeah. So reassuring. So at my first appointment with her, she just kind of started to backtrack a little bit. Like, she's like, I know I have this information from your doctors, but I want to hear it from you. I want to know if they left anything out. Okay. And so we went through everything. We went through, like, family history, any illnesses that that she should be concerned about or might affect the outcome of the labor. She asked me about Brad's family history. And then she kind of got into asking me if she could like do an assessment on me. So she measured me, she did the heartbeat, she asked me about any physical symptoms that were going on. One question that she asked me that kind of stood out was like, are your feet itchy? Like the bottoms of your feet.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, no, but then I told my mom, or something came up with my mom, and she was like, yeah, one of my aunts had that in pregnancy. And the doctors flagged that.
It's a sign
for something. I can't remember.
Not for diabetes or something, but it's something like that. Like it could be it's a huge red flag for. I can't remember
either. Anyways, I'll kind of look that up. But so she and I was like, what? Like my doctor never mentioned anything to me. No. So that's just like a weird sign that you would never think of.
But that's something that they would think for you to say too. Like, And I feel like that's not something you would think to tell your doctor about in regards to pregnancy. No. So if they're saying any questions, and let's say you had itchy feet, you were like, well, I'm not going to bring up this random itch on my foot.
Right.
But with the midwife care and they ask you, maybe you would be like, oh yeah, I have noticed that my feet are kind of itchy. Why? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like that's just like kind of the difference in care between the two of them. Yeah. Is that they're
looking for answers to the questions that they have, like through asking you all these questions, as opposed to that like checkbox.
Yeah, exactly.
So we did that, and she asked me like what my goal was for the rest of my pregnancy, and then she kind of said, okay, let's pause there, we're gonna start to pick back up. I had homework, I had to, I don't know, she sent me a bunch of like readings that I could do on hospital birth, home birth, epidural, no epidural. Like she gave me a ton of information. Yeah. And just said, these are some of the things, like the topics that we're going to go over in your next appointment. If you want to read this kind of stuff, have at it. If not, I'm going to go through it all anyway. So just like rest assured kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we just moved on from there. Like it felt really slow, even though it was fast. You know what I mean? Like we only had each other for 10 weeks. Like I was only in that kind of situation for 10 weeks. And it felt so slow, the process, which was nice.
Yeah. We should explain teams quickly, because I feel like if you don't know midwife care, and it kind of seems like teams, that's different doctors, but with your midwife team, mine was 3, and I think the usual is probably 3.
Yeah.
And there's 3 people on your care, and if with mine you get assigned a color, so I was like green team.
Okay.
And with green team, it's just like there's 3 midwives on your care, and usually what happens is you get all 3 from multiple appointments, especially if you start like earlier on, is that there would be like, you know, you'd hit all of them a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But what happened with me is that I went in to see my 3rd midwife that I'd never met yet, and there was something was happening in the office. I don't know if like medically, like there was a patient in there, and I think that patient required a lot more care.
Oh, okay.
Like, so I think something was going wrong.
Oh, okay.
So my midwife was dealing with that. So then I had one of my other midwives that was on call but had to come into the office to finish the rest of the appointments.
Yeah, okay.
And I had already met that 2nd midwife a bunch of times already.
Yeah.
So that's why in my birth story, like I never got around to meeting my 3rd midwife.
Because of that like emergency situation kind of thing.
But I also feel like there should have been other opportunities for me, but it was just like their scheduling was really weird.
Midwife schedules are crazy.
It is crazy.
Because at the drop of a hat, they need to go.
But that's why I think that they're on a team, is because there's one on call, there's one in the office, and then there's one like not working, right? Yeah. There's one that's on like off. There's just one that's off. So that's why there's like a team of them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, in that case, like the one I had never met, that 3rd one, until she came in at birth, and actually, that's not true. I had a 10-minute conversation with her. She popped into one of my appointments one time, but that was it. Like,
yeah.
So of course, the one I get for birth is one that I never met before, basically. So, but I know like other people's midwife experiences, they like look at the calendar and they're like, okay, you haven't met this midwife yet, so let's book your appointment at this week so you have her.
Yeah.
That I think I would have appreciated more, but I don't know. COVID, there's so many different circumstances. Yeah. There was emergencies, like I get it.
Yeah.
But I think that usually, in most cases, you know everyone on your team really, really well. So that's what we mean by team.
Yes.
And then you didn't have a team because you just had that one for the 10 weeks. But that's really what it means by team.
I feel like I had a very unique midwife experience in that because, it was just her and I, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, this one person.
That is so great.
Yeah. Like, you know how you said you felt about the nurse?
Yeah.
That she was, like, my person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone that you connect with. But another thing to look out for as well is that the midwife team I went with, this wasn't a problem, but some midwife teams, in your first questionnaire, they ask if you want an epidural.
Yeah.
And if you say yes, a lot of midwife teams won't take you.
What?
Yeah. And I think, I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure I heard it's because then you go under the team of doctors and then the midwives aren't paid properly.
Oh.
Or something. It's something to do with like our healthcare system here in Ontario or in Canada, but because then you would be under the care of doctors, and then I think it's different for your midwives, and like the pay and everything is different, so then they won't take you at all.
I wish I could go back, because now I'm thinking, I wonder if that was in the questionnaire.
I'm sure it was.
I'm sure it was. Because I said right away I didn't want an epidural.
Well, I said, like, no, but if I wanted to, I would.
Yeah.
So, and I knew for my midwives it wouldn't matter, but certain midwife teams it does matter. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of a con, I would say.
Yeah.
Is like,
if they don't want to take you because you maybe want an epidural for your birth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Look into it for your
sure.
area.
Or like talk to your midwife team and see if that's something. Like
Yeah.
if you're in their care, see if that's something. But yeah, so I think for me, I kind of jumping around a little bit, but I guess going into like wanting a midwife, I never really touched on why I wanted one.
Yeah.
But the reason why it was so important to me is because I knew that it was more of a personal experience, and I knew that they would offer me the options, and it would be more of like an empowering process.
Yeah.
And so I really loved that about my midwife experience, is that everything that happened in my labor and birth was decided by me.
Yeah.
And it was talked about, like we talked about it with my midwife, we talked about it like Brad and I, and at the end of the day, I was able to make each and every one of those decisions,
Yeah.
as opposed to not having the information, and so that the decisions were made for me, or having to be put in a position where during labor or during after birth and postpartum, I was having to make those decisions without the information.
Yeah.
So to me that was important, and I wanted to do like as little as possible in this pregnancy. Like I ended up getting the glucose test, but to be honest, I don't think I would do that again. No, I didn't have to do it.
No.
I think it was because it was my first pregnancy.
And the midwife, you hear about doing it a lot. I feel like it's more of like, but you don't have to do it at all.
No. And my midwife gave me the option.
Yeah.
She goes, you don't have to, but you know, if you want to.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I'll just do it. But I know for things like, they talked about cord blood donation. She talked about the vitamin K and the eye drops.
Yeah.
She talked about delayed cord clamping, skin to skin, breastfeeding. Like my experience was so detailed, I feel like I said in my birth story, or I think it was my birth story or one of the previous episodes, that I was like, yeah, you need to ask me 3 times or 2 times or whatever before I get an epidural.
That would never happen in the medical, like in the more OB medical route.
No, if I said to my OB I want an epidural, she'd be like,
epidural,
let's get it going.
Yeah.
Epidural, stat.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter. So to me it was more like, they took into consideration all the possibilities of what could happen, and then we planned for that.
Yeah.
And as someone that likes to plan, that was really important to me.
Yeah. I also feel like you have such a relationship with them too, that they know you and like certain things about you. So it's more of like when you go into this and like, you know, she even remembered, like it's different if you hand someone a birth plan and like, this is what I want, they briefly scale it. But I bet you if it was like an OB experience for you and it was like, I want to be asked 3 times, the person reading that chart probably would have never remembered that, and then just been like, yep, call the anesthesiologist. Like, it's just very, that part is definitely very different. But I went in and I didn't know that all of a sudden I was going to be put under the OB care. So like my birth experience was not a midwife.
Right.
A midwifery experience. Like with that, which is, I feel like kind of a loss, but at the same time, I don't know what I'm missing out on. Like I loved that I had the before and after, so it was just kind of like that little part, but maybe things would have been different in my birth if I could have gotten the midwifery experience. Yeah. So.
And for me, it was so nice because I literally had 2 people in the room the entire time that I was giving birth. Yeah. And I just wasn't stressed about not knowing someone or why is this person coming into the room. Like it felt like it was just a very personal experience. Like I think it was the closest hospital experience you could get to having a home birth. Yeah. In the sense that I felt so comfortable in my area, and the door was closed. It was just people I knew and trusted, and that was it. Yeah. And then the aftercare, for those of you who don't know, this is like a huge point, is that it is 6 weeks of postpartum care, and they come to your house for 4 of them?
4 weeks? 4 visits?
So it's 6 weeks of, I think it's 4 visits and then 2 in clinic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not the day after I left the hospital, but the 48 hours, she was at my house, weighing Winnie, looking at me, looking at my stitches, looking at my bleeding. She came in and looked around the house to make sure, because when she came up our stairs, I was like, I'm so sorry I didn't get the door. She's like, I would have been so mad at you if you answered the door. She's like, if that's how I know that you're taking care of yourself and that you have someone, Brad, that's making sure that you're not doing anything.
That's a lot of stairs hike when you've gotten stitches and everything too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was like, nope, I'm looking around, I'm making sure, I want to see dishes in the sink. Yeah. I want to see crap laying around. Yeah. She's like, if I came in here and saw a perfectly clean house, I would be worried about you.
Yeah, my midwives checked my breastfeeding and everything. They were like, yep, let's check your latch, let's try. And I was having a couple problems with my one side, and she was like, yep, let me help you with that.
With your shitty titty.
Yeah, my shitty titty. That's a new word for it. I used to call it my underachiever, but I've switched now to shitty titty.
Hilarious.
But yeah, so I just
we all have one.
We do. Mine was significantly
Yeah.
less though.
Yours was really
Mine
shitty.
Mine was really shitty. But yeah, so she just checked that. She was pressing on my stomach to make sure my
uterus was going down,
dropping. All these things that I had no idea, but I couldn't imagine. Because I think if your midwife, if you don't have a midwife and they don't come, you have to go into your doctor's
a week after.
Is it only a week?
I think so.
I wouldn't want to leave. I left my house in a week of having Jack, but just having them come to your house and checking them. They think they came 3 times or 2 times in that first week.
Yeah.
Off that is just, it's so reassuring. I found out because babies drop weight.
Yes.
After they come out.
Yeah.
So Jack dropped to 6'10" or something, or 6'9" from being 7'4".
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, and then the next time she came, he was right back up. So it's just things that I feel I was feeling anxious about as a first time mom. Yeah. Oh my god, he dropped weight. Yeah. He's now up, and I was like, that is so reassuring and just so great.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know that if they didn't come so consistently.
No, and you get to go home earlier from the hospital if you have midwifery care.
Yes.
So that's another great point too, is because they come to your house, but also they do all those little tests.
Yeah.
And it just seems they're pricking your baby for the first time. It is really sad, and they take your foot, and then there's their foot, and there's just this blood. But because it's in your home, and it's just they're talking to you, and it's just very personal.
They're
it was
explaining the whole thing.
Yes, it was just way better than I feel laying them on a medical table. I probably would have cried if that was.
Yeah, when they did that. So because Winnie needed to get blood work because of Brad and my blood type, she had to get that done. So that's why we ended up staying. We only stayed 24 hours, but still they did that there.
Oh, okay.
That's the whole reason we stayed. So they had to do it twice on her heel.
Oh.
Yeah, it was so sad.
Why?
They needed to get her blood work, and then apparently they didn't get enough.
Okay.
So they had to do it again, deeper.
Oh my gosh.
So sad.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was fine. I don't know if I cried. I felt emotional about it for sure, but I was just maybe I cried.
They found out Jack's blood type at the hospital, so they must have pricked his foot there. I don't remember that happening though.
Yeah. Anyway, there's so much going on.
Yeah, but then the other one was at our house, with the blood, so...
Yeah, oh, and I had stitches. Did you? You had stitches?
Yeah.
So I remember, at the last appointment that she did in-house.
Okay.
In my house.
Yeah.
I literally went up into my bedroom and she fully checked the whole incision.
I didn't have that experience.
She checked the whole area.
Oh.
Well, I asked her, because I was like, am I good down there?
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know, let's check. How do you feel? And I was
okay.
It feels a bit, I don't know, it felt a bit weird.
Yeah.
I was like, when are these stitches gonna disintegrate? They're still chilling.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, let me look. And she said, if they don't disintegrate or fall out by this point, then we'll take them out.
Oh.
Yeah. That didn't have to happen, thank
God.
So yeah, the in-home care was amazing.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 out of 10 out of 10 recommend.
Yeah.
It was amazing. My mom was able to be there for one of them.
Yeah.
And then the in-clinic was even great too, because she did a full physical for me.
Yeah.
like, so I didn't have to go to my GP. She's like, oh, you're due for your physical. Do you want me to just do it now? And I was like, well, you're already down there. You might as well
go ahead.
Do what you need to do.
Did they check you again, your stitches, in your appointment?
At my clinic appointments?
Yeah.
No, because the time that she checked me, she's like, honestly, like, if it hasn't disintegrated, then we will. But they had disintegrated by that point. So
they just asked me, like, if I was fine, and like I had seen some of my stitches coming out, like when going to the bathroom and stuff. Anyways, and she was like, any like more pain at that 6-week point? And at that point, I was like, no, not really. So they never checked, but I am sure if I was like, there's something the slightest bit wrong, they would have been like, okay, let me see what's going on.
No, it was the same for me. At the 4-week mark, or the 4th appointment, I don't know if it was 4 weeks, but at the 4th appointment, I had her check, and because there was still a little bit of pain, but not really. It wasn't pain, it was just felt different. Like, you know, anyway. And so she checked me, and then she said if at that point, like, if at the clinic there was still that discomfort or whatever.
Pressure. I'm trying to like think of the pain. It's like
kind of like a tightening, like a pulling kind of thing. And anyway, no. By the time I got to the clinic, it was fine. It had gone away. But the breastfeeding was huge. I'm glad you mentioned it because my nipples were so sore to the point where I was like, "Is this normal?" Like I had a cracked nipple. She looked at it. She was like, "Yeah." And then my nipples were so sore that she was like, well, maybe it's the latch. So she looked at Winnie's latch, and she was like, it's not that. So it's just your boobs getting used to, like, this experience. And she's like, it can take a few weeks. Like, you just gotta hang in there. So it does get better, obviously. But those first few weeks are very painful. So having that reassurance from her was really comforting.
And there's just like, there's so many questions day to day. Like I remember the 48 hours after they came, I had all these questions. And then they came 2 days later, and then I had more questions. And it was like, I probably would have, and I like write everything down too, but I probably would have forgotten like a whole bunch of things from if I would have only gone a week. So it was just so great to have them come and do all that.
And totally. And when they were there, like when she was there, she was also asking, like, Brad, do you have any questions on how you can, like, be best caring for the, like...
That's really good,
the mom and baby. Like, my mom asked a couple of questions when she was there. Like, you know, it was just, like, you wouldn't have that experience if, like, say, Brad couldn't make it to the appointment, or if it was COVID and he couldn't come in, it was just you and... Like, as a new mom, you have so many things going through your head. Like, the last thing you're doing is thinking about all these questions. So...
They even told me, though, to keep... Before I left the hospital, my midwives were like, write down or, like, download an app now in these times. But I guess before you would write it on paper, and it's, like, it was all about, like, which side you're feeding on, how many poops, how many pees for the baby, and, like, going over all that. So then when they would come, she was like, okay, how many today, how many yesterday, to, like, compare and make sure everything is going well. And I just feel like that helps ease your mind. Like, I'm like, oh my god, is he not peeing enough? Is he peeing too much? Why is he having shit explosions? Every hour?
Why aren't they pooping?
Like,
there's so much.
There's too much. So I just feel like it helps ease so much anxiety, and it just helps you have that comfort too of your own home.
Oh, she even gave, like, recommendations to Brad on how to, like, massage, like, my boob if I got, like, a clogged duct. So I mean, I never ended up getting it, but anyway, there was just, we had so many tools in our back pocket to use if we needed anything. And I remember I complained about being, like, engorged one day, and Brad was like, did you do this? Like, try this, you know, like, get a
cabbage leaf.
No, well, that was one of them. No. But, you know, like, in My Big Fat Greek Wedding where the dad, like, puts Windex on everything? Okay, a moist, warm cloth was Brad's Windex. Like, anytime there was anything going on with my boobs, he's like, let's get a moist cloth. Let's warm up a cloth. We're gonna drape it on your boob. Like, just, have you tried that? And I'm like, no, I haven't tried that.
It's like, you need to try
everything. It's a solution for everything. And you know what's funny is, like, half the time when I took his recommendation of doing it, it worked.
Yeah, but that works for everything. Headache, moist, warm cloth. Like, just, I'm just thinking, well, actually, it's probably cold that you put on if you have a headache. But, no, I love that. Yeah. So anyways, it was so nice. So yeah, overall, 10 out of 10. Is there anything else that we should talk about with midwifery care? Midwifery care? Midwifery care.
We're gonna get attacked by the midwives.
No, I can't think of anything else that like really stood out about their care.
Yeah. That we haven't talked about.
Yeah, it was just though like 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. And what something is when I talked to Brandon about this, like I don't think he really got the full, and like I didn't either, but like I had such a close relationship with my midwives, but for him he didn't really see the difference in the care except for the home part. Like he was like, why, like when I was having the bleeding and they said go to the hospital, Brandon's like how is that helpful? Like they can't do anything for you. And I remember Jack actually got this rash on his body when he was just about to turn a month old. And I remember calling like the midwife emergency team because it was all over, it was head to toe. Oh. Yeah. And they said, she was like, send me a picture, and I did. And she was like, well, I think it's just like viral, but like if you want to be safe, go
to the doctor, to
the hospital. And Brayden's like, why? The answer is just always go to the hospital. Like, what is the benefits of having a midwife? But I didn't see it that way. I was like, they were just saying if you want to make sure, but she doesn't think it's anything to be concerned about. Right. And it was just something viral. Like, he just had a rash, but I don't know. So I think in his experience, that's different, but he would probably also say the home visits are like what the aftercare is, what just makes it worth it.
Oh, when Brad saw the quality of care that we got, and like he developed a relationship with our midwife too, because he was able to go to some of the appointments and then obviously saw her when she came to our house. Like when we left her care, we were both devastated. Like we felt like we were losing a friend.
Or
like,
the third parent.
Okay,
third parent.
Yeah, and luckily like we did develop like a friendship where there were some issues with Winnie's weight gain that we were like concerned about and paying attention to. So after we had kind of graduated out of her care, I would still like message her with questions, and she would respond to me, but not in like a medical way, like as a friend. Like she would just text me and be like, you know that this isn't medical advice, like this is just my personal opinion at this point. And I always took it with a grain of salt, but I remember she recommended ways to like get my breast supply up and like recommended supplements. And when Winnie wasn't taking a bottle and she needed more breast milk at night to help sleep better, she recommended this other, it's called a lactation aid. And anyway, it's so funny looking back. It's basically like a tube that we would stick in Winnie's mouth while I was breastfeeding her, and we would have like a little bottle of breast milk that would also go into her mouth at the same time.
What?
Yeah. I can do a whole thing. When we talk about breastfeeding, like I have stories.
I don't even understand what you're saying.
Basically, okay, we'll save it. I'll explain it off camera, but it's for a different podcast. Okay. But basically what I'm trying to get at with this is that like she had so many recommendations even after we were out of her care, and like she would literally come to our house and drop off the supplies that we needed. Like she was so nice. Amazing. And I think if you were to ask Brad about the experience, he would say like we both don't understand why anyone would want to go with an OB when you have the 6 weeks aftercare option. And there's people that can't, like my midwife said, like for next time, call them before I even tell Brandon. She was like, put yourself on the list before you tell Brandon. And now I think midwifery care is getting so popular that that's also why like I know people that didn't even get in. I think it's because people are becoming more aware of their services and the demand for midwives. Like the hiring of midwives has not matched the demand. So they literally just don't have the resources yet. That's why it's so hard. But 10 out of 10 recommend. If you can get in their care, I think it's an amazing experience, and I don't think you would regret it.
But go for it early. Put your name on the list so early.
And as someone that had the OB experience, if you really wanted a midwife and didn't get on with them, like it's not the end of the world. Just know for next time if that's what you want, then do it early. But the OB experience was still a positive one. Like I had a really good experience with her. It can just be luck of the draw though too.
It can, And if you don't get a midwife experience this time, like obviously hope that you still have a great and amazing birth. Like, there's obviously, it's completely, like, an OB delivered Jack, and it was completely fine. But
yeah, and at the end of the day, you get a baby. Beautiful papa.
It's just the aftercare that makes it so worth it.
Yeah. So stay tuned, because our next episode is about breastfeeding. So I will dive right into all of
whatever you just said.
What we both will.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the shitty titty, what that means.
Experience, yeah.
Yeah.
And how breastfeeding is not easy.
No.
No. So
can't say
stay
that
tuned
enough.
for that.
Stay tuned for that. But thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
If you have any questions about our experiences, or if there's anything that we didn't touch on that we forgot that you have a question about, let us know. Happy to talk about it.
We missed you guys. We won't stay away for this long again. We're very sorry.
This was unacceptable.
Life has just been so crazy. But we're back.
We're back. Better than ever.
Yeah. More experienced.
Yeah, more experienced. But we will talk to you on the next one.
Bye.